Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to Footy Judge Mo, people. It's a good show today. Kind of sad news. Nottingham Forest points deducted from Nottingham Forest. They keep punishing these smaller clubs. Of course. And also, Gabriel Injury scare withdrawn from the Brazil squad. We'll talk to Rory about this and how is that going to affect their Premier League hopes. Of course, we'll talk about Arsenal. Of course, you guys know the drill. Arsenal are the only club we talk about here on this channel, as you guys know, of course. And also, listen, but I hit that like button. Sorry, I'm late. It's Joe's fault. You know, it's never my fault. It's always Joe's fault. Whenever we're here, it's Joe's fault, of course. But listen, we'll talk also about Rodri sending warnings to Liverpool and Arsenal, saying the best is yet to come. The manager knows what he's doing. Rodri is telling Arsenal, Liverpool, the run starts now. The form starts now. That's what he's telling everyone, to be honest. We'll talk about, of course, we'll talk about Kimmich, as he named Arsenal and one of his favorite destinations, right? Who thought that within 3 years under Arteta, Joshua Kimmich, one of the world stars, will put Arsenal as one of the destinations along with the Real Madrid's, Man City and Liverpool. But listen, hit that like button, people. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I think, let me just stop by. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
I'm
good, man.
Good.
Go on, you go, Rory.
Yeah, good. Not looking forward to the international break, but at least we go into the international break off the back of a win. It's always 2 weeks of sitting on a loss is never what you want. So we'll be,
Champions League quarterfinals, of course. I know a lot of people want to talk about the Gabriel injury yesterday that came out of nowhere. I'm not sure if he's even injured or it's just a precaution, but I want to start with the FFP. I want to start with Nottingham Forest. The points.
Can you not ask how I'm doing first, Mo?
I thought you said that you're good.
Well, no.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
I want to wax lyrical on
Go ahead.
the best team in the country right now, Leeds United, because we've played 13 games of football in the league, not been beaten, have conceded 3 goals, none of them from open play. 13 games with no goals from open play. Now sit top of the league after a 17-point gap, 17 points, and we've cut that, and now we're top of the league. Premier League beckons, man. So 8 games to go, 8 more wins, and we're back in the big time and mixing it with the big boys again. All hail Daniel Farke. There you go. We can now get on with the show.
So regarding Leeds, though,
yes.
Do you think Daniel Farke is gonna stay?
Yes, and let me just
Isn't that a mistake? Isn't that a mistake?
No, and the reason
got relegated the first time he coached in the Premier League. He got relegated right away.
Let me explain. In his first season with Norwich, they spent a grand total of £5 million. If you can expect any manager to stay in the division and spend only £5 million, I think you're asking something that's unrealistic. Second time around, they sold their best player, Buendia, to Villa, reinvested that money, and the 30 million they spent wasn't reinvested correctly. We have the 49ers that have said they're willing to back him and have said with the proper team, he will work wonders. If we have a look at where he was at last season, Mönchengladbach, they finished him, and they're now fighting in a relegation battle because they felt they could have been higher than what they were, and now they're near the bottom of the league. So I think I do agree with you, though, Mo.
I think you're making a mistake, to be honest, Joe.
Well, what I've maintained is he gets 10 to 15 games, and if we're still languishing in the relegation zone, then you make a change. But for me, the form that he's been on in this division, then I can't then say you need to move on. Look what he's done with Willie
I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong for a couple of reasons. I'm going to tell you why for a couple of reasons. The Premier League is a different monster, right?
Yeah.
Vincent Kompany has torn apart the Championship. A brand of football like Pep, tearing teams apart. I think he got promoted 5 games before the season ended. 5 games, they were announced that they got promoted, right? Brilliant brand of football. Went to the Premier League, right? And look at this. He's trying to play the same brand of football. Sometimes it doesn't work. And it's not like Daniel Farke is new. Like when Graham Potter went to the Premier League, he was new, right? And it worked. Daniel Farke went before. And I know you're going to talk about the finances and all the stuff which is related to the financial fair play. Who knows how much money Leeds can spend? Who knows what you can attract? Who knows how much money you're going to be within the financial fair play and stuff? In my opinion, Leeds, you have been up. You stayed 2 seasons in the Premier League, and then you got relegated. 2 or 3 seasons. The one under
Yeah.
Bielsa, which was brilliant, the first one, and then the second one went to shit. In my opinion, teams that go from the Championship to the Premier League because of now the FFP and the limitation on budget, just hire an experienced coach. Just hire someone that can do the job right away. There is no 15, 20 games in, risk it. You are risking your future. Do you know why you're risking your future? Because if you back Daniel Farke and you get relegated from the Premier League, you're in deep shit.
Yeah, but I think he will get it right though. But I hear what you're saying.
Do you not think it's possible that year that he's already had was a big learning curve for him, though, and that he'll come back with that experience and know how to make those adjustments and improvements?
It can, Rory. But however, I wouldn't do it with a team that is promoted. If he's learning, he can get a job for a team that is already have the basis for the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like he can be hired for a team that has stayed 2-3 years and looking to change a manager. Like if Bournemouth, for example, want to change a manager, you know what I mean? If Everton want to change a manager, but a team that got promoted, I believe it is kind of a little bit like it's risky because I've seen you know what I mean? I've seen this movie 50 times. You know what I mean? Like I've seen it. A manager that works wonders in the Championship. I don't watch the Championship. I don't claim that I watch the Championship. However, I've seen the same exact situation happen 50 times. Man goes up, good first season, or even good first, and then the second season, Chris Wilder. I can name names, right? And in recent era, I'm not talking about names in the 90s, 2000. They go up. This fire of the first season of the Premier League, and then they go down. Listen, I watched Leeds. You don't play a brilliant brand of football. I only like the game that you played well was against Chelsea because I think that was the Premier League hype. You know, you wanted to prove a point. The players wanted to show the fans and show the media that, listen, we aren't weak. We're Leeds United. We can compete here, right? But I watched some of the other games, to be honest, some highlights and some small games. It's because of you, Joe. I'm not like impressed like I was impressed with every time I watched Vincent Kompany last year. Do you know what I mean? Like Vincent Kompany last year was tearing it apart in the Championship. Daniel Farke.
Do you not think though a team? I hate to make this reference because it's from a manager that I don't like, but like attacks win your games, defense wins your titles. We've not conceded a single goal from open play, more single goal in 13 games of football. That's insane, unheard of. So I think the basis with which Farke will come up will be totally different to his Norwich side that got spanked 6 by Liverpool every time.
Thing,
100%. Salah scored, not Salah, bloody Suarez used to score a hat-trick against them every game and all that. I just think it'll be different. But this is the Premier League. Let's talk Premier League. We will be there. I will remind you of this video though, Mo.
Yeah, so we want to talk about. I'm gonna talk. Put Leeds, so you can point your guys to Leeds here, so they can see that we spoke about Championship a little bit. But listen, there's 200 people here right off the bat, and we're talking about the Championship, which is great. It shows that anything we can talk about, you guys are gonna enjoy it. So hit that like button, get us to 100 likes right off the bat, people. Let's do it. Get to 100 likes. Like button underneath your live chat now. I've never spoken to you two about financial fair play. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen my stance on it. Terry went crazy when I said what I said on the football terrace the other day, that I am with Man City about this. And I'm not about the rules and all the stuff. Do you guys think that financial fair play are ruining the league?
No. I don't think it's ruining the league. I think what's ruining the league is the lack of transparency and the lack of effective action that's been taken. In fact, if anything, if we had gone through seasons of this where breaking profit and sustainability rules immediately, effectively had an impact on the club, we'd have seen the changes happen quite quickly. We're already seeing it. The January transfer window just gone was an example of clubs being reined in by those changes, and it worked. And suddenly Premier League clubs aren't absolutely battering the rest of Europe when it comes to buying players unsustainably. So I think previously we've got it wrong. I think Man City's case is different as well to Forest and Everton. Theirs was less about profit and sustainability and more about cooking the books effectively. So they're two different things. I think it's easy to sit there now and say that it's protecting the big clubs. And to an extent, it is protecting the big clubs, but it's also protecting clubs from the other side of that, which is Reading and examples like that. So I think they've got it wrong previously. I think they've now got it right, but I think they're going to buckle under the pressure of getting it right. Because it's actually having an impact now, and fans don't actually want it to have an impact if it's for their club. And so it's difficult. But I do think comparing City and then Forest and Everton is where people are getting it wrong, because they are different things.
Mo, are you aware of the changes as well that are going to be brought about?
Yeah, the regulator, the independent committee, and it's going to the parliament.
So apparently in the summer they're trying to bring it forward, and I don't know why. So I did a video on this the other week. So basically, it's now going to align with UEFA's squad cost ratio rules. Yep. So PSR is going to be done away. Financial fair play, this figure of you're allowed to lose 105 million over 3 years, is going to go. And what's going to happen is clubs are going to be able to spend up to 85% of their revenue. So that includes first team budget, transfer costs, agent fees, up to 85% of their revenue. So I think what that then does, it almost feels, right? This is how it feels to me. The regulators coming in, Premier League have gone, shit, we need to act. So then they've started to charge people. The charges haven't gone down well and have brought more issues for them. And then they've gone, right, let's change it again and just say you can spend up to 85% of your revenue. But what this also does is then, for me, creates a gap, because 85% of Manchester United's revenue is not comparable to 85% of Luton's revenue. And as a Leeds United fan, I shouldn't really moan, because that means Leeds United will be able to spend more than anyone else towards that bottom end, because our revenue is matched with when the last revenue league.
I think your revenue matches West Ham.
We were in the top 20 in Europe, bro. Leeds United, because
you are still in the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my point is, I shouldn't really moan, but what it is going to do, it almost feels like it's like society, right? Keep the rich rich, the poor poor, and all this is going to do is just make that gap bigger, because it's all right saying, oh, you can now lose what you want as long as you don't spend over 85% of your revenue. But like I say, Man United's revenue is much bigger than anyone else's, or Arsenal's revenue.
But that's totally unfair. Have you guys seen the difference in Man United revenue and Arsenal revenue, for example?
I agree with you.
I think it's big. It's big. And okay, so that gives Man United, Manchester City, Liverpool an advantage, because their revenue is much higher. That's absolutely bullshit. You know what I mean? Do you know that that's what made the difference between Serie A, the UEFA rules is what made the difference between Premier League, La Liga, and Serie A. That's what made the difference. And they're going to make it even, I think this is going to make it worse, because of the revenue in the Premier League, because of the TV rights are included in your revenue. It's going to make it even worse, because La Liga and Serie A and the Bundesliga revenue are incomparable to the Premier League because of TV rights, shared sales, and everything. Right? This is going to make it even worse. I think they're got this right. I think they are doing it out of their asses, in my opinion, all this financial fair play stuff. I think it was brought in 2008, actually in the wrong way, to prevent financial to prevent clubs from getting bankrupt. However, I think they did it wrong completely, because at the end, it's called fair. The whole point of being fair is to have Man United and Arsenal and Manchester City comparable to Luton. If Luton owners want to spend the same amount of money as Man United owners and they won't go to bankrupt, they should be allowed to. That's what Man City did. Man City overspent over their budget. Yes, you can say they cooked the books or whatever. My opinion is that Man City cooked the books, right? Okay. However, I don't believe what they did is wrong, because I believe the rules were forced. And I sat down on the football terrace and people went crazy. And hear this out, people, right? Manchester City had no choice but to sign up for this shit. My point is, it was you sign or you get kicked out of the league, or you're not allowed to play football. You know what I mean? Like, you have only one league in your town and your bread and butter is to play football, right? This is it. Your bread and butter is to play football. Someone told you it's either you sign to this rule, which will make you weaker, right? And you won't be able to compete, or you won't be able to play in the league. So what am I going to do? We don't know. You figure it out yourself. So Man City had to. I know people will say allegedly. Listen, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not going to charge City. I'm saying my opinion. People say allegedly. I know that people want to be on YouTube politically correct. I'm not. I'm really not. This is my channel. I'm not trying to be politically correct. For people to understand how YouTube works, this is a fan channel. I don't work for Sky Sports. I don't work for NBC. Right? I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm going to say my opinion. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you disagree with me. Like all of us, like Rory, who says something, like Joe, who says something, which is our opinions, our channels, and we say what we think, right? I believe this is my stance about what happened with Manchester City. It's very simple. Manchester City, they bought a club for 300 million for free, for something like this. They wanted to build the club. They wanted to build a team, right? They wanted to build a team. They need to spend, but they weren't making money to spend from the club. But the owners have a lot of money. So they went and they tried to spend as much as Man United or Liverpool to catch up quicker, right? That was against the rules, right? That was against the rules, in my opinion, right? But they built a team that is winning team. What was financial fair play said, as Rory said? It's to prevent clubs from being bankrupt. Man City aren't bankrupt now. And they won't be bankrupt because their owners will bail them out, right? So instead of doing this, LB said it perfectly. He said, create a safety net, right? Put something on the side that will prevent the club from going bankrupt, right? But Man United, Liverpool, and some big clubs, they wanted rules to make sure that they can compete with themselves, right? Like we can spend from our revenue, we can do this, we can do that. Man City had to sign it. So as West Ham had to sign it. So as everybody else had to sign it, right? Man City might have cooked the books to comply, you know what I mean, with the rules. I'm not okay with cheating. You sign the rules, you have to abide by them. However, if this rule is not morally wrong and it was created to protect the rich, it's wrong. It's definitely wrong. This is my opinion.
But the issue
let
is,
me tell you. Sorry. Let me just finish the last point before you come in. The only issue with me, if was proven that Man City, for example, spent 10 times more than Arsenal or 10 times more than Man United, that's not fair. We're not playing on the same level. You have Adidas cleats and I have fake cleats that don't work. You know what I mean?
Cleats.
Look,
Cleats. Sorry. I love that word.
I've been living here for 11 years. So sometimes, by the way, sometimes I say soccer because it's just, I grew up in Egypt and I said football. When I came here and told them football, I look like stupid. I look like an idiot. So it is what it is. It's just language difference. You know what I mean? My point is, Rory, is that Man City at the end had to do this to catch up. They could have spent 30 years to build their team. They won a triple in 14 years, right? Since they took over, or 15 years. I'm not okay with cheating in general, but what I'm saying, this rule was created by the wrong club. This rule was created differently. In my opinion, this rule should have been done in a different way to be fair. I don't know if it's salary cap. I don't know if it's transfer cap. You know what I mean? Something that will make Arsenal equal to Man City today. Because at the end today, which is what is proven, Arsenal cannot spend as much as Man United. And Arsenal cannot spend as much as Man City, which is unfair. And that's within FFP because you just don't generate as much money, right?
Yeah.
So forget Man City. You know what I mean? Forget Man City. Man City, you call them whatever, right? You cannot spend as much as Liverpool. You cannot pay more salaries than Liverpool, Arsenal. And I believe that's unfair. If the Cronkies have the money to spend and the club won't go bankrupt, let them do it as long as we're all spending the same. That's my opinion about it.
So for me, there's a couple of issues. First of all, the issue with the safety net, the idea that you can spend and then there's a safety net so that the club can't go bankrupt. That basically means you can gamble with no risk of, like, there's no, at that point, there's no penalty to just gambling everything and getting it wrong, right? So if you're Chelsea and you throw all of this money at it and it goes completely wrong, there's no penalty to that because you've got a safety net.
So why would there be penalty? Why do you want a penalty?
Because part of the game of football is the entire off the pitch side of it. Is the signings, it's developing your players. If there's no, you wouldn't care about signings and transfers about getting it right or wrong if you knew that, well, it doesn't matter because there's going to be a safety net and we can get rid of those players and do it all again. That like Chelsea have got their the last couple of years wrong. They should feel the consequences.
Yeah, but the second part of it, Rory, is that there has to be a transfer cap for each club or a salary cap for a whole squad.
Okay, so good idea, but if you put a salary cap in place in the Premier League and they don't do it in La Liga, Goodbye,
no,
all of the
no.
best players in the world.
I'm
They
never
go to La
talking. By the
Liga.
way, when I speak, I never speak about only the Premier League. By the way, because FFP is not only in the Premier League.
Okay,
It's
but
all
then,
over
but
Europe.
then okay, that works until you find an organization outside of UEFA that goes, "Hi guys, we will buy all of you," i.e., Saudi Arabia. They go, "Okay, you can all come over here, no salary caps."
There is a way
This
to
is the
do it.
problem. There will
There's a
always
way to do it.
be.
You sign a contract for 20 years that you cannot compete outside. Rory, there is a way to do it outside
But
of
the players
of.
wouldn't do that. Players aren't going to sign a 20-year contract, right?
No. The players. I don't think the play. By the way, China did it, and the players left. It's the same.
Because they could come back to the Premier League or La Liga or whoever. I
Okay,
think all of
look
these
at this.
ideas, they
Look
work
at
until
Michael.
you test them.
You guys know Michael, right? Michael talks football. He comes on the channel a lot. Michael has his own channel. He's very knowledgeable about Europe and about. There is a strict salary cap in La Liga for the clubs, so it's there, and the players still want to play for the big clubs. Rory, you're forgetting something. Yes, it's about the money. I'm not talking about salary cap that is low. I'm talking about, what is it called in English? Plain level fields? Is that what I'm talking about?
Level playing field, yeah.
Level playing field. My point about this is that I'm not telling them to put 100 million. I'm telling them put, Man City salary cap now is 400 million. Make that the salary cap. 500 million. Make it. But make it equal to everybody. If Leeds United, if the 49ers want to come in and build a super team, but the team is getting paid as much as Man City, let them do it. Can they attract top talent? They might not. It's up to them to do it. You know what I mean? It's up to them to do it.
Yeah. The issue is if you go, okay, everyone can spend however much they want to the level of Man City. Who can actually spend to the level of Man City and take the losses that Man City have taken? Because realistically, right, the revenue Man City have generated is completely fake, and it's put through. It's basically paid for by the same people that own the club, right? If we're allegedly, but that's allegedly. So they're taking massive losses behind the scenes. They're taking massive losses because they are from companies that barely exist. They're pumping loads of money in, and then that's their revenue, and that's what. Unless you're a nation state or an incredibly rich. You can't even be a Russian anymore, American, you can't compete. So you're just going to end up with nations. We may as well just go and support a nation. You may as well go, who do you support? Saudi Arabia. Who do you support? Qatar.
But that's what I mean, Rory. You create you don't have to make it Man City level. There is a way to do it, Rory. I think, by the way, the difference between me and I'm sorry for everybody, and everybody on YouTube that is against the salary cap because they think I'm an American, right? I don't like how the Americans run it. There is no relegation promotion. All I want, and that's just a suggestion, is to have Leeds United go into the Premier League. I want their owners to be able to compete with Man United. I don't want to have Leeds United looking up at Man United and say, I wish I can get this player, but I can't pay his wage. I hate that. You know what I mean? Because this is not fair. It's not fair on someone like Arsenal, for example. I'm looking at Arsenal, for example, and I watched Terry's videos about the difference in salaries between Liverpool and Arsenal. And I think it's unfair. How can Arsenal compete with the likes of Liverpool and Man City if they can't pay the same money? The owners want to do it. They just can't do it. That's what I want, Rory. I'm not talking about,
I get it.
I want fairness in the game. I want Man City to be equal to West Ham. And it's up to you to hype your project, convince a player to join you. If West Ham can go tomorrow and convince Kylian Mbappe to join them, right? Fair to them. But they can't. You know why they can't, West Ham? Because they can't pay the wage. They just
can't. It, right? I get it. But so the only way that Arsenal could afford to pay the same amount that Man United pay is if the Glazers were to make a loss. Because the club itself doesn't generate enough money or as much money as Man United. So the only way that we could compete would be the owners to make a massive loss. So the only way for anyone then to compete is to make a massive loss, which means the only people that can own clubs at the top are people that are so rich that they can afford to sink hundreds of millions into a vanity project. And that basically just becomes sports washers. This is the issue. You still wouldn't have clubs like Luton being able to compete at any sort of level because their owners need it to be sustainable. They can't afford to make the losses. So I don't mind that we can't spend as much as Man United because Man United have the biggest fan base. They earn their money. I have an issue that we can't spend as much as Man City because we have a bigger fan base than them. We are a bigger attraction than them, but they've cooked the book. So that's where, for me, the focus should be on stopping fake revenue being able to spend the way that they can, not making it a level playing field, which will never be a level playing field because it will always just come down to who's got the richest backers.
I'm gonna get Joe's take on this. But to be honest with you, what you are saying, it was the problem with. This is gonna go political, right? And I talk about politics on this channel. It's all the problem with the 100% capitalist America, which is it's open market. Anyone can do, as long as you generate money, you can dominate the market. What you're saying is that what's going to happen in football, within years, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, and the richer will dominate market. I'm telling you, there will be monopoly for the big clubs. There will be monopoly. If this continues, and it's all about your revenue and how big is your fan base, there will be monopoly. And football won't be as fun because number one, the Premier League will keep getting bigger and the gap in money will turn into bigger. Even like someone like Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, they won't be able to attract players because someone like Arsenal or something, the money will keep getting bigger. That Arsenal will offer Kylian Mbappe more wage than Real Madrid. And the only thing that Real Madrid can offer is heritage and competition. But look at the viewership for the Premier League versus La Liga. That will be a problem. Years and years and years, it will be just a monopoly. Like any business around the world, like any capitalist, like America, for example, why the likes of Jeff Bezos and all these guys, name names, are crushing the competition that the small business owners, which is I'm talking about, not small, like the medium, they are getting crushed because nobody's protecting them because they can just crush the competition. That's how I believe what is happening. And now things are getting more expensive. The rich will get richer.
100%.
And I want to stop that. I want to have football all fair and I want to have competition, good ones.
Yeah, I think. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just lagging at my end before. But so this change that comes in with the 85%, right? It's let's say it happens, it gets passed or whatever, which I think it will, because obviously the powers in the Premier League were like, yeah, let's have some of that. So it's designed to promote financial stability or sustainability and prevent clubs from accruing excessive debt. But like we've already established, it's just going to widen the gap because the revenue streams of certain clubs are much bigger than newly promoted sides. Unless you're a heritage club, you could argue Nottingham Forest, all the, when Villa came up because they've won European Cups, massive fan base. I would count Leeds United in that. We have a big fan base comparative to the majority of championship teams, so we're able to mix it, right? But then when we look at what comes under revenue, so I just had a look, right? So broadcasting rights. Premier League will always have a monopoly or will always be ahead of the other leagues because we share that stuff, right? We share that stuff, so teams at the bottom still get a decent wedge of money, so they can spend that. Match day sales. And again, I'm just going to use, let's use the lowest case, which is Luton, right? And the biggest case, let's say Old Trafford, Manchester United, right? Match day sales. They're never, ever, ever going to compare, right? Sponsorship deals, and this is where Rory's points comes in when we're getting Airways and that sponsoring City when it's their brother and all that sort of stuff. That's when it becomes an issue. And the Premier League are not asked, how many times have there been investigations into Everton's sponsors, Villa's sponsors, all these clubs that are just not real, these betting companies that are just not real, that are under investigation for fucking all sorts of crimes. But the Premier League's not asked because it's money. So let's be realistic. So sponsorship deals, which can also be cooked. Merchandise sales, again, there's no comparison between a Luton and a Manchester United. Player transfers, okay, that's fair enough. Commercial activities, non-match day events. Do you know what I mean?
Spurs.
Yes, exactly.
So we want to turn football into an entertainment business.
Well, hi, and then prize money, which again, the biggest clubs get that anyway. But can you imagine Beyonce rocking up at Luton? You know what I mean? To put on an event there, it's not going to happen. So I just think, it's all. I mean, in principle, it might look good and stuff, but all it does for me is just creates an even bigger gap. But again, it's the Premier League running away from the independent regulator anyway. I think I watched Stick to Football, and Gary Neville, who's a bit of a socialist, and it doesn't matter where you lean politically, right? But politics is in football, it is what it is. But he said, right, what he would do is say, right, okay, whoever's got the biggest revenue in the Premier League, so let's say it's Manchester United, 600 million, right? This is the point he made. He said you could then say to every single Premier League club, you are allowed to spend up to the biggest revenue clubs in that league. So let's say Man United, their revenue 600 million. That means anyone else in that division can then spend up to that amount, and that then gives 11, which really it does, like, because that could mean a mega rich owner could come in at Luton and say, right, who earns the most? Right, Man United, 600 million. Right, we could spend 600 million, and then that creates parity, I guess. If you did get a new mega rich owner, because look at Newcastle now, right? Newcastle have come in, and they're having to maybe look at selling players. Now, this 85% revenue might help them, but again, their revenue in world football, in Newcastle are massive in the northeast. Outside of the northeast, they ain't all that. Now, of course, they might have new fans now, but it will take them a while to get
years, bro.
close
20, 30
yeah,
years.
But that's
100%.
But that's good. That's how it should be for me. Because right, Mo, the one big thing, like for me, that I love about Arsenal is the history. It is what we've done to become a global football brand. And part of what we're doing now, like, even if it comes to getting top four, off the back of getting top four, you get an influx of money that you can spend on growing and developing and progressing. There's an idea of progressing to the future. What is the point in that if in 10 years' time someone can take over Bournemouth and spend the same amount as us and compete with us within 2 years? What's the point? There's no future to look forward to.
I'll tell you, you have the history.
But part of the history is establishing yourself as the club that then generates the revenue that can then spend the revenue and compete at the top for years.
Can I ask you something?
There's no point in any of that.
Do you believe Man City are creating history now? Forget the charges.
This is the thing. This is their fake. That's why for me, the FFP
this is wrong. What you say? I'm going to tell you why.
The way that they've generated their revenue, which is false.
Can I tell you why you're wrong? Because I was in the mosque the other day, and I saw a parent with 2 kids. Do you know what jerseys the 2 kids were wearing?
No,
Rory Zani, okay, and Aguero. 2 kids, 10 years old.
Right.
Rory Zani from the Centurion, right? That's history. These kids are young. They wanted to watch the Premier League, and they watched the best team in the Premier League. And that's it. They just watched the Premier League.
No right
that's
being
history.
the best team in the Premier League.
Exactly.
They never
you are calling it.
They
have no right. But I believe they had the right. That's a difference. Because unless you prove that they spent 10 times more than Arsenal, they literally just spent exactly equal to Manchester United.
But they did it immediately. There was no generations to that. It wasn't I support the team because my dad supported the team.
But let me ask you something. Why would a player join them? So let me ask you something. I'm gonna give you a hypothetical question, right? Right. A player that is called X, a new club comes into the picture like Newcastle, are gonna offer the same wage as Arsenal. Which club would the player choose? Logically.
For the same wage, Arsenal, but they pay more.
That's it, because you have the history. That's why if you're both allowed to spend the same money, you still have the history and the heritage, unless Newcastle build a project, build a team, and start winning. Now they go to another player, X2 player, and go say, by the way, we built a really good project. Do you want to join Arsenal, the heritage, or do you want to join the winning team of Newcastle? They're going to say, well, it depends. I was always a supporter of Arsenal, or I want to join a heritage club, or I want to join a more successful project. Now, these are level playing field. Both of you are allowed to give that guy the same wage.
So
same exact money.
That's fundamentally where we just disagree. It's not a level playing field if the people at the top of it are nation states.
Because you are considered... No. If the nation state is allowed to spend the same money as the billionaire owners of Arsenal Football Club, that's level playing field. The only difference is that you are complaining because you built it over 100 years and they didn't.
But the billionaire owners can't afford to sink hundreds of millions into it as an advertising project.
Can I ask you something? With all due respect, right? Can I ask you something? Leeds United, do they have heritage and history?
Yes.
Right? Leeds United, if they get owned by the way, Leeds United have been in the trenches for over 25 years.
Because of financial issues, man.
22 years, right? They have been in the trenches since 2003 semi-final. that they've been to or something in European Cup, right?
Yeah.
This has been the last time we saw Leeds on the global stage. Am I wrong? So 21 years, right? Up and down, shit, right? If Leeds United go tomorrow to the Premier League and they get bought by a billionaire owner, another one, forget the 49ers, someone comes in with Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk buys Leeds United tomorrow. Do you believe, Rory, that Leeds United should be allowed to attract players? They built their club over 100 years as Arsenal.
Yes, but okay.
Why?
The part because they've got the history, but also the part you're not looking at.
About the
But the part
history,
you're not
this is
looking
not
at, right?
about I built it. It's about the
But
history.
no,
It's not about I built it.
you're not looking long term at what happens when you push the line and then you push it further and then you push it further, right? So you set the cap at what City can currently spend. Okay, you set the cap there, and then in 5 years' time, Newcastle go, but we could spend 10 times more than that. And so you go, okay, let's increase the line.
No, but that's the problem, Rory. So you are making it, as I am saying, let's all make it to the point that Newcastle and Man City can spend over Arsenal. What Joe has said is that no. We all want to have the same field. We don't want to have, oh, this guy is spending 10 times more, and if you can catch up, you can catch up. If you can't, you're done. No, I don't want that. That's what I mean. When do we stop? There is a way to do it. There is by the way, my suggestion, and I'm not a financial advisor, right? But my suggestion would be this: you get something, an average over all the clubs, and that's gonna be your cap, an average of wage, and that's your starting point. You start from there, an average wage over all the clubs, and that would be your starting point. My point is, you can create a starting point that is fair to everyone, when everyone can compete. And from that point, we keep using the data from all the clubs to do it. We just keep using the data. I'm not talking, it might not be salary cap. It might be a transfer cap, 200 million. It might be 250 million. It might be 300 million. I don't know. But all I want is that I want everyone to be able to compete fairly. By the way, that might not be the way, Rory, right? But I want a good way to do it.
So but this is the problem with teams like City, right? That find ways around.
But
it.
I know one thing, Rory. It's not FFP. I know that.
Maybe not. No, it probably isn't. But you put in a transfer cap, and then Man City go, okay, well, we'll pay £60 million for Erling Haaland, and then we'll pay his agent, who happens to be his dad, a £40 million agent.
Yeah, there is a way to control that. But that's the point.
But they'll always be one step ahead because they've got the most expensive lawyers.
You know what
they've proven it.
But that's the point is, now it's all about transparency. Now it's all about, I don't know, financial regulator or whatever, someone to control, because that money going to the agent, where did it come from? The club, right? It came from Man City. By the way, this is stuff that come from the club. So it's an expenditure. You know what I mean? From the club. It's not someone's friend paying that agent for Haaland. By the way, and that will happen. If you're proving that will happen, it will happen no matter what. We cannot stop that. We cannot stop cheating in life, right? This is something that happens. If, for example, the Cronkies, they can take a loan from the bank, pay the guy outside Arsenal's finances, pay an agent. You know what I mean? Okay, prove it. Prove it that was part of the deal. You know, these businessmen are businessmen. If Trump can sit in a presidential candidacy debate and say, I cheated the system because the system is bad, who prevents anybody from cheating the system? If they can do it, they will do it. They will have they will find a way to do it. That's my point. Anyway, listen, I want to move on with 40 minutes, people talking about Leeds and financial fair play. What a show. There's 450 people here. 450 people here. Right? But listen, can we get at least to 200 likes, you guys? Wallah, you guys are freeloaders. Let me do a couple of super chats. Thank you for everybody supporting. I want to get your opinion as well, guys. Akash Paul is saying, if this bill passes this week in the parliament for a regulator, this changes everything in football finances and governance. Big clubs do get bigger, though. Yeah, it might. You're right, which is what Joe complained about. He doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want the richer to get richer. Thank you, Akash. Dio, appreciate the super chat and the support. Dio, Arsenal fan, of course, comes on this channel with us as well. I have a suggestion. A club that gets promoted should be allowed to go raise a 300 million cap over that season. That money should not be attributed to the clubs as revenue, but an infused investment. Again, Dio, that is part of suggestions. But who can suggest that? Some people will oppose this. Well, oh no, it's unfair. I don't know. But Dio, thank you. That's a suggestion as well, because the teams that get promoted like Luton, they cannot compete financially. Leeds, by the way, can compete financially with the likes of West Ham. Leeds are richer than Brighton, if I'm not mistaken. So it depends which club. So would you give Leeds 100 million? Okay, what about 300 million? What about the other clubs? Again, the number is unfair, Dai. Thank you so much.
So say like if Ipswich come up, Ipswich Town, yeah, they've been in the Premier League, but and they do have history, I guess, but yeah, their revenue is not comparable. I hear you.
To Leeds, like they're 10th of what Leeds' revenue is, or less. Anyway, thank you guys so much for the super chat. Thank you. Get involved. Now talk about the football then. Gabriel is injured or not. I don't know. Can you enlighten us, Rory, please?
Yeah, I think he is he's injured to the extent that it's not worth him going and playing for Brazil, and 2 weeks of recovery would be good. Apparently, it's an inflamed Achilles tendon, which he's been dealing with for a lot of the season. So it's one of those where it's like, you know, having him play another 2 games of football and then coming back in for the run-in would just not be sustainable or sensible. So it's I'm expecting him to be back for the City game, and it's no different to Darwin Nunez pulling out or Kevin De Bruyne pulling out, or, you know, a load of other players that have pulled out. So
if he gets injured, how does that affect your title hopes?
Right, look, I think it breaks up the best centre-back pairing in the Premier League this season in terms of Saliba and Gabriel. I do think Kivior can come in and cover, which is certainly, you know, people comparing it to like us going from Saliba to Rob Holding last year. It's nowhere near the same drop-off from Gabriel to Kivior, or even Tomiyasu, who plays as a left centre-back for Japan. So it wouldn't be as damaging, but it certainly would be damaging to a certain extent to break up that partnership.
100%. In my opinion, if Gabriel is missing, I don't think you have a chance of winning the league. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, to be honest. However, it depends how long is he injured. I'm not sure if you can afford to lose the City game. I don't know. Do you think you can afford to lose the City game?
Not really, no. I think if we lose that, you've then got to find points on both Liverpool and City after that, which would be incredibly difficult.
In Joe, looking at this Arsenal team, they have a horrendous running. They have a horrendous, like it's horrendous, especially if they beat Bayern Munich. I did it with Dan Potts. It looked horrific. Like it looked terrible, especially when you don't have a deep squad like you, unless the players all are back and stuff like this. I don't want to talk about Gabriel. How do you see Arsenal competing in the 2 competitions, Champions League and the Premier League?
Yeah, I think they can. Maybe one will have to take precedence over the other, but it's the Champions League. I don't know if you can, really. I mean, I'm just looking at their fixtures now, so Brighton's been a bit of a stickler for you folks, hasn't it, for a while?
Anyway, Brighton have not lost at home since September.
Brighton.
That's something that people forget.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we smashed them at home last season.
Maybe.
So.
But last season is last season.
Yeah.
And then Villa at home, I think they come.
I think they make Villa look average. That's
So one thing with Villa at home is that Villa play on the Thursday night in their European game right before that game. So
it's as you were. Nah, but listen, this is what you get a big squad for. This is where you want. You can't really complain. Arteta definitely won't be. The players definitely won't be. I tend to agree with what's being said. I mean, Gabriel will want to be at Arsenal for the running, you know, and you've got to protect yourself. I mean, Rutter at Leeds United was supposed to go with the French under-21s, and he's pulled out, and he's having a hernia op, and it'll last 10 days, which coincidentally is 2 days before our return fixture. So, come on, sometimes they look at it and say, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it when we're on for winning things? And Gabriel probably will be fine. I wouldn't read too much into it. As for the running, the big ones, it's Spurs, isn't it? It's Spurs the 27th of April. I mean, that is going to be some game. It'll probably get changed to the Sunday, I'd imagine, won't it? Super Sunday vibe. But that is going to be some game because even no matter what happens at City, they're still going to be in with a chance by this game. And I think after that, what will you have? Three fixtures after that. You've got Man United away as well. But no, that Spurs one's going to be huge. And as a neutral, although I do want Arsenal to win the league, as a neutral, I'm really.
So you aren't a neutral then?
Well, no. Well, I am, aren't I?
You aren't a neutral.
Like, it's not gonna bother me if they don't. Do you know what I mean? I'm not asked if they don't. I just would like them to. I would.
Why
like
do you like Arsenal to win the league? I never asked you that question. Yeah.
I've always liked Arsenal because Wenger. I liked Wenger. He stepped to Ferguson when they were winning everything. I liked Thierry Henry, Freddie Ljungberg, Dennis Bergkamp, Robert Pires, Tony Adams, all these folks. So I just like that team. And then, and I like Saka as well. Saka's one of my ballers. I love Declan Rice as well.
You do.
And I'm pushing this agenda, and I keep mentioning it to people.
Yes.
And I mentioned it on your video yesterday, Mo. And we need to have uncomfortable conversations.
What video?
With the Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
When they were talking about the quad season, and you were like, "What quad season?" Like there is no quad season, but
fake. It's called fake quad.
Yeah. There does need to be a conversation. If Arsenal win the league, that domestically, because people slag off the Carabao Cup, but domestically, Arteta will have matched Jurgen Klopp. Domestically, if he wins the league this season. And I just love that narrative because I'm like, well, because, it is what it is. Man, look, I want Arsenal to win the league there. It's what it is. It's something different, it's new, it's fresh, and I like their players.
I think it'll break the internet, though. It'll be great content for me, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Shanna will love it. No, but listen, like the thing about Brighton, then Bayern Munich, then Aston Villa is kind of like it's a tough 3 games back to back: Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I know that it helps that Arsenal play on their ground. However, even after this, it's even worse because I believe you play Bayern away, then Wolves away, and then Spurs away. I think that period will decide Arsenal fate. Saturday, and I think, to be honest with you, will Arsenal come back? It's 31st. People just hear this out and deep it for the people that watch us, right? Man City on a Sunday, Luton at home on a Wednesday, right? So Sunday, Wednesday. Brighton away on a Saturday. Bayern Munich on a Tuesday. Saturday is Aston Villa. Wednesday, Bayern Munich. Saturday, Wolves, and then away at Spurs. It's absolutely atrocious. These are 4 weeks. This is absolutely horrendous and ridiculous. In 4 weeks, Arsenal will have to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So 2 games a week for a month, including Spurs away, Wolves away, Bayern Munich away, Man City away. That's absolutely horrific.
We play, if we were to get past Bayern Munich, we would play 14 games in 49 days, which is an average of a game every 3.5 days for 7 weeks straight.
It's absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. If you come, to be honest with you, if you come out of the other side of this season, winning any of the 2 competitions, I would call that a massive achievement. Especially it's your first year in the Champions League.
It is, but I honestly don't think, you can make excuses. You can talk about us being the underdogs to do it, but I don't think there are excuses in terms of squad depth or anything else. Like we've got our full squad pretty much coming into that run-in. If we're not good enough, we're not good enough. If the players can't handle that sort of schedule, then that's something that they've either got to improve on or they're not good enough to do it at the top level. There's not City are going to have exactly the same. They play Real Madrid twice, and then they'll presumably play us or Bayern Munich twice if they get past that. So
I think City have a deeper quality squad. Does that make sense?
They do.
Like quality squad. City might not have a bigger number of players, but City have bigger squad in terms of quality. You know what I mean? Matthias Nunes, Kovacic, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. You know what I mean? Bernardo Silva in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe, like even Doku, for example, is better than Nketiah. when he comes in. Like, I believe, like, people don't like Doku, but I like Doku. I think he's better than Nketiah. You know what I mean? Their defense can have John Stones, Diaz, Ake. You know what I mean? Kyle Walker. You can have Akanji. You can have a lot of defenders. If Saliba or Gabriel gets injured tomorrow, God forbid, the drop-off is absolutely horrendous. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say it's horrendous, but
because
I would say...
Timber is injured, Rory. Because Timber is injured.
Well, Timber apparently is going to be...
And then Kivior has been good, but again, you have been good in a system that plays him left back. Guys, and this is something that I spoke about 50,000 times on this channel and on any channel that I go on. What Gabriel and Saliba are doing together is absolutely nuts, guys. The amount of chances Arsenal don't concede is ridiculous. People just don't realize they prevent the chances from happening before they happen. As a partnership, they do together what Van Dijk sometimes do. Van Dijk reads the game very well. Both of them together are the best partnership in the Premier League, right? Arguably the best partnership in Europe in terms of the back two. Because when you watch it, forget the stats, forget all of this. On the eyes, what they do, they prevent the opposition's midfielders from playing the ball to the areas because they're already there, which is what Saliba does. And I
agree.
But however, I believe they can do this with Kivior, or I haven't seen it. I don't trust it, right? I don't trust it, right? Your offense, by the way, has been good in the last 8 games and all this stuff, but your defense is the one that is allowing that to happen.
I agree. The one thing I would say, and you're right to say I've not seen it, so therefore I don't know if it can happen or not, was that we hadn't seen Kivior do what he's doing at left back until he started doing it at left back. We'd not seen that before, so I would err on the side of he can do it until he proves he can't, rather than he can't do it until he proves he can. But we'll see. Look, hopefully they don't get injured. And I think there are more players at Arsenal. I think the big difference is that there are more players at Arsenal and there are more players at Liverpool that are such key players that if they get injured, no matter what, you're going to see a drop-off. Whereas Man City, I feel like Rodri is the only one. I feel like Rodri is the only City player that if he's out for a period of time, there would be a significant drop-off. Anyone else they can replace.
It's a good segue to Rodri, what he said. Mo's acting like they're prime Ramos and Pepe. Okay, so hear this out, and I'm not going to repeat this again for the people that just keep saying. What we have seen, yes, it's a small sample. It's 28 games for Arsenal. But what we have seen sometimes from these two players is very good. People want to say, yeah, but it's a short. I'm just analyzing what I'm seeing now, what I'm seeing in the last 9 games. So in the last 9 games, yes, they have been doing Ramos and Pepe. Yes, they have been doing Ferdinand and Vidic. Yes. So why are we shy of giving someone, like, for example, and I'm just going to say this example. Let me just do super chats. And I want to get what you guys think, right? But let's first hit that like button first before we go on. Wallahi, you guys are like freeloaders, as Winter Surfer says, because we have 500 people and we aren't even on 200 likes. Guys, let me explain to you. The like button pushes the channel to the next viewer. When you like the video, the like button is underneath the live chat. Let's get to 200 likes now. Close the freaking live chat, hit the like button and come back chat with us. AMT saying if Arsenal wants to win, they must take it as it comes. Yes, 1 game at a time, like what City did last season. But I want to just say something. People are really scared, for example, of having the Rodri versus Declan Rice conversation this season. I'm not talking about career. Every time I mentioned it, people got scared. Oh, no. How dare you mention Rice with Rodri? He's the triple winner. And I'm not denying him this. I never said that. All I'm saying is Declan Rice this season has been very consistent. And it's a conversation. I'm not saying he's better than Rodri. Rodri is better than him. But it's a conversation. This season at least, only. It's not over his career. Rodri won Premier League, won a treble, won this and that. But this season, there is a conversation. It's simple. Like Odegaard last season, for example, has scored what? Like 15 goals, had 7 assists. That's a conversation with the good midfielders for 1 season. If he does it over 5 seasons, by the way, people who were scared of having this conversation about Salah the first season, by the way, when he joined the Premier League, people kept saying, no, you cannot compare him to Henry, for example. You cannot compare him to Giggs because it was 1 season. But in that season, he was as good as Henry in his season. But people just scared to have the conversation about, yeah, we cannot compare these players to the best players. And I'm like, no, I can compare Saliba and Gabriel as a partnership tomorrow with the good defenders that played in the Premier League. Why it's so wrong? I don't get it.
You've just rattled the City fans in the comments. Look at them.
I know, yeah.
I'm not even watching the comments, to be honest. It's flying. I watched some of the comments. Why are people rattled? Am I not speaking logic? Like,
No. Well, you are speaking logic, yeah. But
like people just
they're
don't
not.
understand it. Rodri is miles better than Rice, as Herbal is saying. Rodri is a triple winner. I am not talking about the triple people. Rodri has had had 10 times the career Rice had until this moment. Rodri
You
won
know,
a triple. You guys don't understand how a triple is. A triple is
you
being the most important player, by the way.
you know the contradiction that's funny in the comments is that when you were talking about Gabriel and praising him, they were talking about how it's the system, and that Gabriel it's just because the system makes him look good. But then when they talk about Rodri being better than right, they won't talk at all about the fact that he plays for City in a system and how he would do for another club. It's
By the way, I am same people, and I'm just gonna highlight this comment. Someone to come in my channel and accuse me of trying to simp Arsenal fans. For people to accuse me of this, you're absolutely just watch my content. Do you guys know the millions of people on Twitter that is doing the Arsenal versus Inter content stuff? Do you know who created this? You guys know it, right? Do you know I created this on El Ahwa once? You know who's your daddy thing? When I said to Arsenal fans, who's your daddy? That was me on El Ahwa. Months ago, I started this. I do not simp to anybody, people. Just be honest. For you to come here and accuse me of doing this, I see it. I say it as I see it. So, just as simple as that. You guys don't believe it? It's up to you. It's up to you, right? When I said that Bissouma's better than Rice, I wasn't simping to Arsenal fans then, right? I wasn't.
You don't agree
It's
now,
wrong.
do you?
In this 100% in this season, yes, there is no comparison. But Rice has been 10 times more consistent than Bissouma and 10 times better than Bissouma this season.
No, but he's a
Bissouma has
better
had
player,
staples.
right?
has Basuma ever been better than Rice?
Nah,
In the beginning of the season, yes.
no.
In the first 10 games, yes, in my opinion. And I'm not shy to say, in my opinion. The reason why, when I say better than Rice, it's better than Rice probably for me. When I say better than Rice, I say it was a conversation and I chose Bissouma because I believe Bissouma on the ball is better than Declan Rice as a player in the midfield, for example. Like I believe that Bissouma on the ball is better than Declan Rice. However, in my opinion, I believe Declan Rice has been one of the most consistent players in the league, in the whole league, probably. So I'm not going to just sit here and say, yes, because I think Bissouma is more talented as a midfielder. He's better than Rice. If I'm choosing someone tomorrow for my team, based on the first 28 games, I'm choosing Declan Rice, of course. Bissouma had two red cards and a suspension for yellow cards. Why would I choose a player like this? No matter how talented you are, if you're not disciplined, you're not going to play for my club. You're going to be on the sideline more often than not. So it's as simple as that. Gunnar Carlos is saying Arsenal haters can't accept Wright should be PFA Player of the Year. If Arsenal win the league, okay, no
Van
matter
Dijk,
Arsenal
no?
win it or not, okay, Declan Rice should be considered. Right?
Yeah,
Let's just
considered,
establish that, right?
Yeah.
If Arsenal win the league, Declan Rice has a good shout. Like if Man City win the league, Rodri will have a big shout of winning that as well. Foden will have a shout, right, of winning that. And they will probably be the closest contenders to win it. But I want to speak about Rodri and him sending the warning signs to Liverpool and Arsenal, saying that the best is yet to come. This is when we start. The reason why I want to discuss this is it has been said for over months now, months since the beginning of the season. This City team aren't the same as last City team. They might not kick into the gears. Yes, they haven't been beaten, but we're watching the performances. We're watching the Chelsea performances. We've watched the Brentford performances. And now Arsenal fans are saying, this is our best chance over the past 8 years to beat Man City since we beat them in 2015. You would not have said that if you, as an Arsenal fan, Rory, and I'm not sure if you said that or not, see City as the City of last year. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I do think we've got a better chance this year than last year.
Is that because you're good or because they are not as good?
I think we are more sustainable than we were last season, but I don't think City are as good. And I said this before they dropped points to Chelsea, that they haven't looked, and then again to Liverpool, they haven't looked as good as last season. The run that they'd been on, whilst the results had been good, they've not looked like the City team that were not getting out of second gear and cruising past teams from, by the way, from January last season, they were doing that. This season, we've got to, now we'll be at the end of March, and I don't think they have clicked into gear. And look, maybe Rodri's right. Maybe they will now hit, top gear and they'll win every game from now until the end of the season. But in the same way that, we're yet to see if Arsenal can do this, that, and the other, we're yet to see City this season hit that run of form as much as their results were. They're more fragile. They're more frail. I think teams can get at them more. They're conceding more goals against teams they wouldn't normally concede against. And they have had games against the top opposition where they really actually struggle to get Haaland in the game. And I think that's a big issue for them as well. So look, I'm not saying they're not going to go on and do one of those crazy runs, but if they do, and they've done well to keep themselves a point behind Arsenal and Liverpool because they can now go on that run and it would win them the league. I'm just saying, there's no guarantee that they do hit it, and they're not in that run of form yet.
Can they get into that run of form, Joe? Not based on history, based on what I have seen this season.
I think the big difference for me, anyway, is KDB and Haaland. I think that's the big difference. Like, because they were just like, KDB was like, he was just like I don't know, tracker beam, like a horning beacon, whatever. Like, it was just one ball, bang, Haaland's on the end of it. Now, Haaland's still scoring goals, but I agree with what Rory's just said. He's going missing in games. Now, of course, we know he doesn't impact games and isn't as involved as most strikers anyway, because that's not really his job. It was funny last season when people were trying to push this narrative that Haaland somehow made City worse and they went on and won a fucking treble. No one's saying that, so please don't hear that, folks, when it's coming out of my voice, because I'm not saying that. But he doesn't impact the games as much as some other strikers. But he's a killer. But and I know De Bruyne has been injured, but and we spoke about it in the game. De Bruyne got substituted in the Liverpool game. That's like, that's something that's unheard of, really. I don't know what the numbers are in terms of like KDB to Haaland last season around this time to this season, but that's a massive drop off. And I've said this more, I don't think they've been as good as, and everyone wants to chat about Foden. I mean, we were chatting about him being the best player in the league just a couple of weeks ago. That quickly went in the bin. I just don't think anyone's close to KDB's level. And yes, Rodri's been phenomenal. But Stones has had a great season. Alvarez started well. Now he's putting in stinkers and not really getting involved. So I don't know who we're looking at outside of Rodri to go, do you know what? They've been the guy this season. The guy. Whereas I can look at Arsenal and Liverpool with Van Dijk and Salah before he went away. There's players that... I mean, the City fans will probably say Foden, but I don't know. I just think he's... Yeah, I'm not sure I rate him as highly as everybody else, and maybe that's because I don't know ball or whatever. Foden, maybe I just don't know ball, and I don't know. But yeah, the different. That's a
What
big.
do you know? You support Leeds. What do you know?
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
What do you know?
Let's like De Bruyne goal contributions. How many is it this season? Like 2 goals, 12 assists. Is that right? 13.
Listen, De Bruyne is out of this world, bro. Sometimes, like, just come on. You cannot.
No,
Just
I'm
be
not.
injured the
I'm
whole
not.
time.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Please, I'm not. I know this, but my point is, they're not.
My man
they're
can
not the
really
same.
tip the scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. But is he this season more?
Well,
And
if he's fit, yes.
Yeah, but this is my
So-
point. They're not doing it.
So
'Cause he's
one
not fit
thing,
then.
yeah, exactly. So one thing I do think is that the De Bruyne to Haaland method became quite predictable. I was at one of their games recently. I think De Bruyne put in 16 crosses, and 15 of them were cleared, and one of them Haaland headed over, and that was such a weapon for them last season. But I think it's become predictable. And if you're coming up against the top defenders, where you've got Gabriel or Van Dijk. I think that's where they're struggling. And I think the other thing is that they've struggled to figure out the third midfielder. When it's Rodri and De Bruyne's in an advanced position where he's trying to put those crosses in, they've struggled. They haven't replaced Gundogan. Well, if it's Kovacic,
Yeah.
I don't think he has enough attacking output. But if it's not Kovacic, I think they lose a lot of control in the midfield. When it's been Alvarez or someone like that, they don't have the control in the midfield. And I think that's something that they've struggled to figure out this season. And I also think Doku has his output is not good enough for Man City. I don't think when he gets into the position to cross or shoot, I don't think Doku's good enough. And I think they've been a couple of big differences between this season and last. And I don't know if they can figure that out for the running. Maybe after this 2-week break, Pep thinks of something. He figures out how to fix that issue. And if he does, then yeah, they can go on that run.
Do you know who's key here? And he got battered, but we're seeing this season just how key he is. Is Jack Grealish. Because Jack Grealish on the left-hand side offers Manchester City so much control. You know, and for such a long time, everyone was going, we're not getting the Jack Grealish that we've seen at Villa. You know, we're not getting him taking people on, etc. And some people didn't rate his performances. He had big critics. Or Pep's training it out of him or whatever. But he has a specific role. And that specific role, it offers control, right? And they don't have that as much. And I think him being back could definitely have an impact on the season. I don't know how you feel about that, Rory.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know how long. If he's back from,
I think he's soon. Maybe soon.
That will be big for them. He's. I think in his first season where he didn't perform that well, and he's actually spent a lot of time not playing. I think Pep turned him into that kind of, like you said, the controlling player and the percentages player, where he'll play the percentages, and over the period of a season that'll pay off. Whereas Doku, exciting, electric, doesn't play the percentages and doesn't have the same output. And I do think, if I would much rather come up against Doku at the Etihad than Jack Grealish, 100% rather it be that way. So look, they've not figured that out. Maybe they do figure it out. I don't know if any City fans know what Jack Grealish is.
It says he's on the mend. And is expected to be in contention for selection. According to the latest updates, he has returned to first team training and could be selected for upcoming matches. That was about 2 days ago. So, yeah, like Grealish. I don't know. What do you reckon more? Grealish, big miss on the left-hand side?
I don't like him.
No?
But it's a big miss because he's not... Listen, I don't like Jack Grealish. He's not my cup of tea in terms of a football player from Manchester City. However, it proved to be important to their system. But let me just about Jack Grealish is Doku isn't suited to the Man City way they want to play now, right?
Right now, yeah.
Because Doku is an exciting player that likes to go into defenders. He will get you one ball right, one ball wrong. 2 ball wrong, 2 ball right. You know what I mean? 2 crosses wrong, 2 crosses right. He's not controlled as I was hearing what Rory has said. He's not controlled like the rest. However, they need that. I believe just Mo, and I've spoken to LB about that on his channel. I said, you need this because it creates chaos and it creates havoc to the other team. It makes the other team, like if Doku plays against Arsenal, Arteta will have to make adjustment to accommodate Doku being there. If Jack Grealish plays there and he's just someone who you know what I mean, like controlled, like stuff like this, they can, you know what I mean. Jack Grealish isn't going to take the ball and try to run on a defender or 2 defenders. Doku can do that. If you leave Doku a space, you're running the risk of him creating a goal or 2. Jack Grealish isn't that guy.
They're always going to have possession of the ball and recycle it and, you know, create new openings with Grealish on the pitch, whereas Doku may lose it. And then that opens, you know, and all of a sudden they're defending a game, whereas it goes out to Grealish and recycle it. I mean, people are saying... Go on, Rory.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, but Doku might end up becoming that player. Like, if you think back to Grealish at Villa, it was much more like Doku in terms of he would always run at the defender. And so clearly that's what Pep wanted Grealish to become. And it's more interesting, actually, that he's given Doku so much more game time in his first season than he gave to Grealish in his first season. And I don't think Doku's changed much, whereas Grealish has. So, yeah, it's interesting. This is definitely a system-based problem.
Yeah.
But at the end, in my opinion, Arsenal, which is something I said 50,000 times, Arsenal aren't going to this game favorites. They might have a bigger chance than before, but on paper, if you ask me, I'll pick City to win it, no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, it's just logical. This is why I said Arsenal are 3rd favorites in this title. You know what I mean? just because on paper you're going to Man City. That's why I picked Liverpool as favorites, because I said, people told me, yeah, Man City are favorites going to Anfield with Liverpool injured. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like this. You go to Anfield, you are inferior just by default. You're going to the Etihad, you are inferior just by default, right? Unless Man City have Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland, Diaz injured. Yes, okay, at that time I'll give you that, but they don't have that. So it's tough, and I believe if Arsenal win this league now, even it's an underdog story. It's not a Leicester story, but it's an underdog story, especially now, especially after losing the 2 games against Fulham and West Ham.
Can't call it Arsenal winning the league's not an underdog story. I'm not.
It is.
It might
Why?
be if you're an elitist club, but it's not. They should be there,
Why?
shouldn't they? Because they should be
Based
there.
on what they should be in there?
Because it's Arsenal, bro.
Is their squad
They're a
better
top
than
6
Man
club.
City or better than Arsenal?
No, but they're a top 6 club.
Is
They're
their
a top
coach
6
better
club.
than that? Okay, can
They're
I
a
ask
top
you
6
another
club.
question?
Go on then.
If Man
Spurs
United,
won the league. If Spurs won, that would be an underdog story. Not even Man
Yeah.
United. Not for me, bro. Nah.
it's not by far though, but in my opinion, this is just my opinion, because I said weeks ago, even when Arsenal were winning games, and I said Arsenal third favorites. It's just logic. I'm just being logical. You know what I mean? They have the hardest run in. Look at Man City fixtures and Liverpool versus Arsenal, and you will know why I'm saying that. It's just is it tougher for Arsenal to win the league from this point on? Yes.
No, they're in. No, why? Just because of fixtures or what?
Yes, of course.
No, but
You going
you
away
deal with the hand,
more
no,
than
but
your opponents. You have more hurdles than your opponents. Makes it harder for you to win. You have more mountains to climb.
Nah. Like you deal the hand that's dealt. Fixtures are fixtures. You have to play everyone twice. It is what it is. If you want to compete in the Champions League, you compete in the Champions League. I don't think. And S Madison in the chat. I actually like Manchester City, bro. It's Manchester United I dislike, bro. So if you're gonna come for me, make sure you come correct. Thank you. Anyway, go again, more. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. People just don't know you. Some people just don't know you. Let's get the likes up, people. And super chat. Torniki saying, as a gunner, we are with second favorite team is Inter. And that's very from early 2000s. I generally have love-hate relationship with your content. Why? Like why? It's very strange super chat, to be honest. I rattle a lot of people, and in the same, by the way, let me just explain to you something. Same people that say Mo hates Man City are the same people that were in my DMs after I went on the terrace and defended Man City against Terry and Lawless for the charges. Same people, by the way. By the way, if I'm rattling you and in the next week you're DMing me saying thank you for standing up for my club, that means I'm doing my job. That means I'm impartial. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? I'm doing my job as a content creator. But this title race is so exciting. It's amazing. I'm not sure if Man City can kick into the gear and win the next 10 games in the Premier League. They can. I believe the Real Madrid game will a little bit hinder them. And I want to shift about very strange thing. Joshua Kimmich, though. He named 5 clubs he can join. For the people that don't know, so let me explain it. Joshua Kimmich, Bayern Munich said, we are willing to sell Joshua Kimmich at the end of the season. I think publicly they said they're only considering 5 clubs because this is the players' will. Liverpool, Man City, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. And guess what's the first club? That's the 5th club. Arsenal Football Club. Which is, it proves one thing, that Arsenal are doing the right stuff, right? The right things. That Arsenal are a project. That's why I'm going to do a content about should clubs, this is going to be an episode with some Arsenal fans, opposite Arsenal fans. Should clubs do what Arsenal did over the past 5 years, or should they do the City or the Chelsea model? Which one is right for football? But Joshua Kimmich naming Arsenal as a transfer destination. I have 2 questions here. Why would he do that if Arsenal aren't winning things at the current moment? And why would he choose Arsenal?
I don't know why you're surprised about Arsenal being the 5th club here. Like, you seem really shocked that Arsenal would be considered.
Very
but
shocked.
I don't
I'm
understand
actually
why.
very shocked.
Why though? We're a
Because you
club that's
haven't
got
won
a
it,
rich,
bro.
but we're a club with a rich history who are now competing back at the top again, and it looks like it's probably sustainable that we'll be able to do that for the foreseeable future. There's a clear spot in the team that he could come in and make his own in that midfield.
Yes.
And it's a young project with an exciting manager. I don't really understand why. For example, why would you not be shocked that Barcelona are there when everything that they're going through, both on and off the field, makes them surely a less sort of exciting project to go to? Liverpool are about to go through a big period of transition. Is that something that you want to go in and risk? I don't understand why they wouldn't be equally.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Surprising.
Why I'm surprised? I'm going to tell you why I'm surprised. Barcelona are Barcelona. They have a massive fan base around the world. And let me give you what I mean. Barcelona's worst is coming second in the league, winning the league at one point, winning the cup. You know what I mean? Arsenal's bad is being fifth or sixth or fourth, right? Eighth. That's Arsenal. Barcelona's bad is being third in La Liga. You know what I mean? I still going to the cup final. Arsenal haven't won trophies yet. Okay. Why would you choose Arsenal over Man City, for example? If he goes to Man City, work under Pep. Liverpool, yes. You're talking about Liverpool and the stuff, but Liverpool are more successful than Arsenal at the current moment. Real Madrid are Real Madrid, right? Real Madrid are the most prestigious club in the world. You know what I mean? So him naming Arsenal in with these guys is, I think, it's a big testament to what Arsenal are doing at the current moment. But at the same time, okay, Arsenal haven't won. What if you don't win the league this year or the Champions League? He's coming to a club that hasn't won a major trophy. When I say major trophy, a Champions League or the league in 20 years.
Which makes it all that much sweeter and a bigger deal when he joins the club and takes them to that trophy. Same reason Declan Rice joined Arsenal. Why was Declan Rice so desperate to join Arsenal instead of Man City? Because he knows that Man City are a plastic club, that none of their trophies mean anything, that you can do a treble.
I didn't agree with that.
No one really. You did. You nodded your head. And that winning a treble doesn't mean anything. So maybe Kimmich wants his trophies to actually have some value.
You know? Oh my God, Rory sounds so salty over Man City trophy. It's unbelievable.
Do you know what though? Yeah, you can't discredit the combination of Edu and Arteta. Them two as a pair have clearly done homework on players, have clearly pushed the boat out to convince players, and if they're serious about Kimmich, then why can't they make it happen? Because Declan Rice happened, you know, and City they were willing to have that conversation. I don't know if City will enter this one. Maybe they will. Who knows?
I'm sure City will enter this.
Yeah. Which, having worked with Pep, might give him a thing. But for me, and Liverpool fans won't want to hear it, Klopp leaving means you will have a drop-off, okay? It will happen. Regardless of who's coming in, Michael Edwards, whatever, there will be a drop-off. Because we've seen it. We've seen it with Arsenal. We've seen it with Manchester United. There will be a drop-off. It might not be as big as them two clubs, but there will be. So for me, the next biggest challenger to City's reign is Arsenal. They're gearing up for that. And listen, football's cyclical. Liverpool might not be in a conversation again for 4 seasons. Who knows? So it might be between Arsenal and City. And Kimich might look at that and say, yeah, I want a piece of that. Come on, let's go. I'm going to play week in, week out. I'm going to do this or do this. So, yeah, I think it would be a good move for all parties. And Arteta's key in this because we mocked him for the way that he acts in the documentary and he's playing You'll Never Walk Alone and he's doing the drawings on the whiteboard. But some players will love that shit. Everybody's different. And they'll want to sign players that sign up to that. And all it takes, managers can be so important in securing transfers when Kimmich probably could have his selection of clubs. So it's about
I want to say that
who's going to go that extra
Arsenal
mile.
Need Kimmich. Man City might not. Arsenal need Kimmich. If Kimmich goes in there, he might not be captain, of course, because Odegaard has been there and Declan Rice and all these guys. But he will be the guy that says, listen, I won the World Cup. I'm not sure if he won the World Cup. No, he didn't. He wasn't in that team, the 2014 team. But he won the Champions League. He won the league multiple times. He plays for the German national team. He captained Bayern Munich, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe they need that. They need that guy. They need that guy that will yell, scream at players and tell them where to be, what to do. You know what I mean? I believe they do. And if Kimmich goes to Arsenal, I'll be happy, to be honest. Just because, again, another player that is experienced going to Arsenal to create even more competition. You know what I mean? It's not that I like Arsenal, but I believe City can attract other talent. Like City can attract other talent. That's my point.
Can I just say on Liverpool? Sorry, just to finish up on my point on Liverpool as well.
Yes.
And listen, you have every reason to be excited about Conor Bradley and all these other players. But what I would say is, don't underestimate Klopp and the players that he has at the football club, because you were all saying it about Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips can't get a game anywhere. He is crap. But you were all saying the same about Nat Phillips. But he was alongside the best centre-backs, or one of the best centre-backs the Premier League's ever seen. So just give young players time. I look at them and I look at Conor Bradley and I say, yeah, this guy's great. Everyone's waxing lyrical on Kwanzaa. You were all writing Joe Gomez off only a season ago or a season and a half. You'd have all sold him. And now he's amazing again. So they need time. Sometimes systems can help certain players, etc. So I just don't think this transition, whoever the manager is, will be as smooth as Liverpool fans hope it will be.
I think there's sometimes a bit of a contradiction where Liverpool fans will say, well, Klopp's one of the best, top 3 managers Premier League of all time. They'll put him in that top 3 section. But then in the same breath say that there's not going to be a drop off when he leaves. And it's exactly. Was he really one of the best managers in Premier League history if him leaving doesn't have an impact on the way that, effectively what you're saying is the squad and the rest of the structure, is all that you need. So I don't feel like you can have both.
Yeah, agreed.
Can we get to 300 likes, people? We have over 500 people here, and we're not even in 300 likes. Wallahi, you guys are... I don't want to call you names, but fine. You guys are great if you hit that like button and get us to 300 likes. I'm just not greedy. We have 500 people, and we're not even on 300 likes. Let me do a couple of super chats. JJ, big up. Ashraf Habibi, Assalamu alaikum, Ashraf Habibi. The prospect at Arsenal is very enticing. Come on, you Gunners. Right? It is. Until Arteta doesn't win the Premier League or you see the fans, or doesn't win the Champions League, and you will see the people starting to turn on him. Listen, I know that it looks good now, and I think the project has worked as the owners want, JJ. But at the same time, there has to be a threshold. When do you say now you have to deliver? Is it this season? Is it next season? I said it's all about progress, and as of now, it looks like progress from last season. But if the progress stops, and there has to be a time when you say, now you have to deliver. And when I mean you have to deliver, you have to win the Premier League or win the Champions League. Don't give me FA Cup. Don't give me Carabao Cup. Man United won the freaking Carabao Cup last year. It has to be the Prem or the Champions League because of what you built, because of you spent 100 million on Declan Rice, because you built a wall at the back, because you got David Raya, because you have Saka, you have Martinelli, Odegaard. So you have to win something. So it has to be at some point.
So let's take the 5. Let's take the 5 teams and add Kimmich into that team. Add Kimmich into each of those 5 teams for next season, right? So you imagine each of those 5 teams with Kimmich in the next season. Let's assume that City and Real Madrid are almost guaranteed trophies. Real Madrid getting Mbappe as well. Let's assume those 2 are the guarantees. Yes. Out of Liverpool, Barcelona, and Arsenal, of the teams they are now plus Kimmich, which do you think is most likely to win a trophy next season?
Barcelona, of course.
You think Barcelona are more likely to win what trophy?
No, Mbappe going there, they might not. Yeah, but I see your point. If you don't win anything, I think it's Arsenal, probably. I think it's nobody. It's Man City and Real Madrid only, to be honest with you.
But if out of the 3, if one was to push City for the Premier League or push Real Madrid for La Liga,
probably Arsenal. Probably.
But
it depends, because we are assuming that Liverpool new manager won't be as competent as Jurgen Klopp. You guys are assuming. If Xabi Alonso wins the league this year, right, with Bayer Leverkusen and chooses Liverpool, which, by the way, I'm not sure if he's going to choose Liverpool, and he goes to Liverpool, he can make them as competitive as Jurgen Klopp. We have seen this many times before. We have seen this. But listen, Ancelotti left. Zidane took over. They won Champions League 3 times in a row. Right? It happens. And they won the league with Zidane. It happens before. I've seen it. Like, we're assuming that, yeah, nobody can compete with Pep. They can. They can, of course. But Ghost Nathan J saying that's an underdog. It's an underdog story. Since day one, everyone writes Arsenal off from winning a trophy. That makes it an underdog story.
It is not.
So can I hold on? I got a response to this. Hold on. I got a response to this, and it's a very good response.
Go on then.
Has anyone had Liverpool winning the league? Nobody. In the beginning of the season, no one said that Liverpool will win. A lot of people said Liverpool will challenge, but nobody believed that Liverpool can go and win the title, right? So, Nathan, would you say that if Liverpool win, it's an underdog story? There is a reason. There is another reason why Arsenal are an underdog story, because they have the toughest fixtures and because they are third favorites in everyone's books. It's not because everybody wrote Arsenal off from winning the trophies in the beginning of the season. Hussam, for example, this is football, literally said that he has Arsenal winning the league from the beginning of the season. A lot of pundits chose Arsenal to win the league in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's
sorry,
not because of that.
Any competition that Arsenal enter, they win it. It's not an underdog story.
No, the Champions League, if they freaking win the Champions League,
it's not an underdog though.
Are you serious, Joe?
Yes.
If Arsenal,
underdog, like
bro,
underdog, like come
underdog.
on, this is Arsenal.
So I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna explain.
This might be a shock and a surprise, but it's not an underdog story.
I was gonna do a Champions League ranking the teams from now on based on the route. Favorites: Man City. Second, Real Madrid. Right. Third, Atletico Madrid. Fourth, Bayern Munich. Right. Fifth, PSG or Barcelona because of the route. Sixth is Arsenal. It's not because Arsenal are sixth in terms of like strength or whatever. It's because of experience. It's because of the route. It's because of who they have to face. It's because of the league. It's because they are competing. There are many factors in there. If they win the Champions League, it's an underdog story.
Do you think, as an Arsenal fan, if you won the
Champions League,
you would go, "Oh, what an underdog plucky story we are."
It's not Leicester, Joey. It's not Leeds.
No, but that's what an underdog story is. So would you say, "Oh, good old plucky Arsenal, we did it. What an underdog."
I think Premier League, no. Champions League, like, it's not like amazing underdog. You're going to do documentaries about it, right? But it is. We would definitely have been considered under. If you'd said at the start of the season, Arsenal first year back in the Champions League in 7 years, majority of the squad have never played the competition, and then you said, "Oh, by the way, and when you get to the quarterfinal stage, you're going to have Bayern Munich followed by Real Madrid or Man City." Like, you'd say, "Oh, they're the underdogs," not in the sense of like great underdog. You know, some of the, but we would be considered the underdogs in those fixtures, I guess.
Okay, let me do the next. Kimmich wants his trophies to matter by choosing Arsenal over City. This Arsenal guy is talking like Trent.
Yeah, Trent was right.
Trent wasn't right. This is his opinion. It's not my opinion. The fact he's in footy judge mode. He doesn't represent my child. He represents himself.
Trent was right. Trent, there's more.
He's so salty, bro. Come on.
There is more celebration for a Liverpool Carabao Cup than there is for a Man City treble.
Yeah, because they won the league twice. No, I disagree with you. But anyway, listen, it is what it is. I actually think, but Rory answered this, Kenneth, just to be honest with you, Kenneth. He said, after Man City, if Man City aren't considered, he can choose Arsenal because he is the one who might win them the trophies, because they're closer after Jurgen Klopp leaves to win trophies. That's his point. You know what I mean? That's Rory's point. Their talks, Bayern fan, Joshua Kimmich is a better right back than a 6, so he suits Arsenal. Then he can play right back and invert.
Yep.
In the 6.
What do you do about Benjamin?
Yeah, forget Benjamin. You have Joshua Kimmich, bro. And then, and you have to understand one thing: Arsenal play in the Champions League, and they're gonna have the cup next year, and they're gonna have if this is the guy that can fill in the 6, 8 right back. I think it's the perfect thing to have at Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, Ben White's already played 3,000 minutes this season. It's which partly because of Timber's injury, but I do think that's how you compete with City, right? Is you go, okay, Kimmich is out, you bring in Ben White.
I'm so happy for Ben White as well because obviously he was on loan.
Why
at
do you
Leeds
like
United.
these guys like Ben White?
Well,
Because he was
wait,
at
wait,
Leeds. Because he was at Leeds. Oh,
He was at Leeds United, right?
Player of the
he
year,
got,
right?
Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal, right?
W's for
And
my guy. W's for my
one-
guy Kenneth in the chat for the massive
one sec. Let me
God,
finish.
are you gonna get
bro.
props to
Let me
Lee to Ben
finish.
White? I'm gonna say
No,
Judge Mo.
I'm going to talk about, right? I found the tweet. When he originally signed, and I found some of the replies from Arsenal fans trying to tell me that Tyrone Mings was better than him and all these players. So I just retweeted it because I said you folks don't deserve him because I'm being told. Guess who else they said was better than him? Connor fucking Cody. And I found them receipts and I retweeted them not too long ago. So yeah, big up to Ben White. I knew this would happen. Anyway, go.
Love Ben White.
Kenneth is saying Nat Phillips was never the best. That's for you. By the way, that's for you, Joe. Him and Reese were slow and put in a shift when Liverpool had all center backs were injured. As soon as Liverpool defenders came back, none of the duo played.
Which
I agree there is gonna be a changes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not set, but if you go back and listen to the narrative around Nat Phillips and these players when they were being played, it was different. But I hear what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, but Kenneth, to be honest, it's just I always like to wait for players, young players, because some of the players that I saw in my life with the hype and being this and that, and oh my God, this guy is gonna be. It depends on what teams they go. One of the best examples in football, right? Which is it's very strange example, and you guys are gonna just raise your eyes when you say that, right? Like it's Philippe Coutinho was good prospect at Inter, went to Liverpool, was very, very good, one of the stars at Liverpool, then begged to leave to go to Barcelona to win, and look at the career from that point, right? The hype around Coutinho was he's going to be that guy when he goes to Barcelona, right? Sometimes a wrong career move or a wrong bench or something can destroy a career, right? I'm not saying Conor Bradley is not talented. The guy looks like he belongs. Kobe Mainoo looks like he belongs. But the amount of pressure we put on youngsters nowadays is ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh my God, I've seen Liverpool fans tell me, put Trent in the midfield now. Conor Bradley is ready to start right back at every single game. I think it's too early for that. I think it's too early. Let the guy develop first. Warren is saying Arteta success already. Crap team to young challengers today. Potential dynasty building in London. Very enticing to any big talent. It depends. Again, we have to, guys, at the end, it's not only about, and I'm just to Arsenal fan, to everybody that listen to me. I always say it's all about progress, but at some point the progress has to be capped with a trophy. And a big trophy. I cannot just say it's an exciting and an enticing project forever. This cannot go for the next 5 years. It just can't. There has to be a threshold when you say, now I have to win now. You agree, Rory, with this, right? Like,
I do agree. I do agree. But I also acknowledge that to go from the challengers to the winners, you need those players that are going to take the risk, arguably, of joining the challengers, not the incumbent winners.
Yeah. Absolutely. AMT is saying Leicester City was the real honor. I actually tweeted a tweet that rattled a lot of people. I said, we're hearing Netflix this about, Arsenal Netflix, and there is Man City Netflix, and there's like all this Netflix thing. And I said, Netflix this, Netflix that. The only Netflix in the history that I think it is was Leicester City title. This is the only worthy of a story, to be honest. Like, it's because this is something I've never seen. I don't think we'll ever see this again, ever. In our life.
Oh my God. Just in.
Okay,
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe makes Gareth Southgate his number one choice to replace.
No. You share it. Can you share your screen? Share the tweet.
I hope that's true.
1 second.
I hope that's true.
There
That
we
would
go.
be sensational.
Where is it?
There.
Is that real?
Well, yeah.
It's the Mail, yeah.
It's the Mail. Sir Jim Ratcliffe makes Gareth Southgate number one choice to replace Eric Ten Hag at Manchester United, people.
That's insane.
That's
That would
absolutely
be-
crazy, bro.
That would be. Imagine being an English United fan. You watch Southgate throw the Euros away, and then he joins your club. Unbelievable.
This is ridiculous, bro.
I
Oh
hope
my
that
god.
happens.
Southgate in from Eric Ten Hag to Southgate. Oli, Eric Ten Hag, Southgate. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think that's
Amazing.
absolutely great, bro.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Let me do the rest of the super chats. Thank you guys for everybody. By the way, that's how we use a super chat, people. I just explained to people. It's not only that you're helping the channel, you're actually creating a conversation. This is it. This is exactly how we use a super chat. Eddie is saying City 19 wins, 3 draws in the last 22 games. The best of any English team. Later stages to the UEFA Champions League and FA and 1 point off the top, and they are not on form.
Yeah, but again, you've got to look beyond. When no one is saying that they're not on a good run of form, no one's saying that they can't continue that. They're just saying it doesn't look as likely and as ominous as it did last season. And the reality is, the fact that they've done that and they're still not top of the league is because of what happened earlier in the season, where results didn't fall for them in that way. And I look at games this, in that run of games. 1-0 against Bournemouth, they could have ended up drawing. They scraped past Brentford, they could have ended up drawing. There have been games in that run where earlier in the season they dropped points, and that could well happen again in the rest of the season. Like, the way that they're playing just hasn't been as good. And if you want to ignore that, you can ignore it, but that's just the reality.
Purple is saying Pep leaves City, Arsenal. Which one can attract big players? Wow. So that's a super chat. That's a question.
Arsenal.
I don't know. If Pep leaves tomorrow, if Pep leaves, City or Arsenal, which has bigger pull?
History's changed though now. The footballers growing up, the footballers that would have the choice of big clubs at younger ages know City now. You spoke on it more when you said the young lads who had Sunny shirts and that. They know City now. It's like when you see Moises Caicedo, for example, talk about Chelsea when he was a youngster. Like, at the end of the day, if that was 10 years before, he'd have never heard of Chelsea. So football's changed now. So City are now in that conversation regardless of who manages them.
So let me just actually spin this question to move to the next one. Is if Pep leaves and 1 year after and Arsenal win something and City don't win, Arsenal might be more attractive.
Maybe.
But if the year that Pep leaves and Arsenal still haven't won and Man City just won a trophy, Man City will be. It depends. Context, bro. Eddie's saying Barcelona will surprise people. They're so underrated. We'll see. We'll see if they can register players, because they might have to sell players in this summer. We'll see. They have so many young talent like Lamine Yamal, and they still have Gavi to come back and Pedri and all these guys. They have a lot of talent. But yeah, Tornik is saying Ben is the best right back in Emirates era. Facts. Well, Rory can speak better of this, to be honest. Not better than me.
Yeah,
But
he's pushing
yeah,
it. Probably needs another season or two at that level.
yeah, 100%. Zer Talks, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for helping the channel becoming a member. And Warren Hussein is saying this Arsenal team is 2-3 world-class players away from rivaling the Invincibles. Back four locked, Rice Odegaard locked, Saka locked, add world-class 6, left wing striker. How do we look? Go ahead.
This is when it gets silly. Come on now. Don't do this to yourself. That is insane. That is insane. Let Rory speak on it, but that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's one of those where the thing is, like, you can go statistically and we won't be far off equaling or even better in the Invincibles points tally and the number of goals scored by the Invincibles and conceding fewer, but it's one of those where the current team, especially, it doesn't have that same imperious feel that the Invincibles did, and there's a long way to go before it would have that same feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
That makes sense.
Listen, people, this has been one of the best shows. We spoke 40 minutes on Leeds and financial fair play, which is something great, to be honest. I hope Joe is happy. I spoke about Arsenal, Man City, and Southgate. I'm not going to stay to speak about Southgate. Rory trying to justify the super chat. Maybe. But listen, I want to appreciate everybody that sent the super chat, supported the channel, of course. Thank you, everyone. Akash, Banter, Dayo, of course. AMT, Guna Carlos, Tornik, JJ, Nathan, Kenneth, of course, Zir Talks, Warren Hussein, and Eddie, and Purple, of course. Oh, there's a lot of them. But I want to appreciate you guys. You guys are supporting the shit. Stay on the stream. It will take you to This Is Football. But also, Joe is going live. I know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Joe?
These folks don't want to know. We're talking about Leeds United, so don't worry.
If you guys want to go to Joe and hit that like button, but stay on this, it will take you to Osam where he had no side.
And we will be laughing
Elvis.
at Man United, by the way, because if they get Southgate, and I think there's an Everton points deduction on the route as well. So
I thought they got 6 back. They got 4 back. Right?
Yeah, but they're due another right there because they had 2 charges, right? So Forest have had 4, and then I think they may be due another 4, maybe. I don't know.
Appreciate
That's around
everybody.
the
Guys,
corner.
before you go, we can get to 300 likes. We had 550 people here, right? So you can get the likes up a little bit. Appreciate you guys. Rory Talks Football, daily content now about Arsenal. Absolutely brilliant. You're going to enjoy his content. Speaks a lot of sense. Sometimes people will call him deluded, and sometimes we'll talk about him as a positive. It depends what you like, right? But all I want from you guys is click on his channel in the description. It doesn't cost you a penny, but it supports his channel. I promise you, he provides good content, right? They're very good. And also, the brilliant Just Joe Football Show. You cannot just speak enough about it. Absolutely brilliant content every time, right? Hopefully, we'll see him next in the Premier League. We're out, people. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys soon. We're out.